Hello, everyone. How are you? It's the Library Love Fest team coming to you from our various ports in the storm, though the ports are getting closer. Ayo. I'm Virginia. Who's with me?
I'm with you. I am Chris Connolly. Hello,
Woohoo!
everyone.
And I'm Lainey Mays.
Woohoo! Thanks so much. Bye-bye. It's just us today. I don't even know if anybody's watching. Are there people watching?
Let's see if there's people watching. If you're watching, please let us know. Let's see.
Let's see.
I'm not looking. I just wanted to
Oh, we do have people watching.
Really?
So. Oh, yes.
Why? I'm just kidding.
Why? Listen, you guys. Okay, so it's 2:00. It's September 1st. And we don't have an author today, but we have tons of stuff that we want to tell you about. But before we do, we're going to raise a glass, or in my case, a bottle. Don't show the brand so you don't get fired. First of all, happy fall, everyone. We've made it through the summer. I think it's officially still summer, but it's September. And so I don't know, I feel refreshed. I feel renewed. And I want to thank my two Library Love Fest teammates who have done such an amazing job in this crazy time. And we have really pivoted quickly, as has everyone. But right now, I'm only thinking about us. And what a great job that they have done. I couldn't be prouder to have two wonderful teammates. So first of all, I want to thank them. Great summer. It was tough summer, but it was also a learning curve for all of us. And I think we always did a great job. You guys did a great job putting your best foot forward. So here's to you two.
And cheers to our fearless leader.
Three of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, I want to give a special shout out. Hold on, Lainey. Christopher Connolly just marked his 5th year at HarperCollins. And that is quite an accomplishment. So, Christopher, happy anniversary, and thank you for all that you've done to help make us shine.
Well, it's been a pleasure, both of you. Best team in the biz. So thank you. And thank you to all librarians who make this job so much fun. Fake confetti. Woo. Finger confetti. Yay. All right.
All right. Here's to you guys.
Cheers. And to answer your question, Virginia, we do have people watching. I just want to shout out so many comments already. Yeah. Wendy Wilson Bartlett, Rosemary Pistilio, Carla Suto, Kimberly McGee, Bree Dumont, Patty Lang, Betty Taylor, Vicky Nesting. Did I get everyone? Sylvia Chipke, Buanani, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Elizabeth Silver. So happy to have you all on.
Thank you, everyone.
Talked about. Can I just mention one thing though, because so Wendy just right off the bat asked us to tell your favorite book as a kid to go with the kid pictures you showed. And I was looking at my bookshelf, my fresh new bookshelf. For those of you watching, I'm back in Brooklyn, so I'm very happy about that. And I have my big bookshelf that I left behind, and I'm reunited with it. And I was looking at this book that I happen to have on my bookshelf. It's called Virtual War. And the thing about this, the irony, so a school librarian gave this to me in like maybe 2nd or 3rd grade. It's kind of a Ender's Game-esque virtual combat dystopian future, but for kids. I forgot to return it. So it has the sci-fi label, fiction skew. It still has that plastic wrap on it. I'm sorry. It's been weighing on me the past 5 years.
You just exposed yourself.
I know. So those of you watching, please forgive me. But also thank you for
Write a
this.
big fat check, mister.
Yeah,
Try
I'm
to
sure the value
return.
of this is skyrocketed. Plus, I just love this little kid. The art direction is so
me see.
weird, but if you see, that kind of looks like me almost. He looks horrified at what he's done, and that did look like me at 12 or 10 or whatever. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that off my
Kim
chest.
McGee said you were so grounded, young man.
Oh, I thought that was a
But
compliment.
Wendy
at first,
said
like,
you're
I'm grounded.
forgiven.
Thank
Oh.
you.
You're forgiven.
If there was ever a place to seek forgiveness, I felt like it was now. So,
Well,
sorry for
Wendy,
the diversion.
is the fee forgiven, Wendy? What do you think? What does she think about that? She'll
Yeah.
tell us.
Yeah,
That's
but
very funny, Chris. Lainey,
yeah.
what was yours?
I had so many. That book just reminded me, I used to love the Magic Tree House books. That was like favorite. I just remember sitting around like reading a book in an afternoon. I loved them. I don't know. So it made me too many to name. But that was one that came to mind first.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Mine is Charlotte's Web. Yeah. Oh my God. My mother worked in the elementary school as an aide in the library. So she was the one who, I mean, even before she worked, she got us hooked on reading. And all of us, but my sister and I were real big readers. And she used to read Little Women to us every night. And so that's a big favorite, but I mean, that wasn't something I could have read as a child, but she used to bring books home for me. In fact, I have some inside. I may just go grab some, like Carolyn Hayward, and the Betsy B is for Betsy, and I love them all, but Charlotte's Web is for sure my favorite.
I was always really lucky because my mom is a teacher, so I always had like an hour after school to do nothing, and so I became friends with all the librarians and just would like hang. My mom had her own library in her classroom, but we would I would just be like, go in the library, see you later. Like, because you had it all to yourself, and that was such a cool thing as a kid.
Yeah.
I was a huge R.L. Stine kid as well. So 20 years later, after I saw him walk into the HarperCollins offices to go into the video studio and had to do a double take because I couldn't believe he was real. Reader beware.
That's so
Reader for scare. Yeah.
Love
those
that
books.
stuff.
So trip down memory lane.
Yeah. Great question, Wendy. Thank you.
She did say statute of limitations is done, no fee.
Oh, sweet, Chris.
Good. It's a weight off my chest.
And Wendy said Anne of Green Gables.
My God, Anne of Green Gables.
That's my older favorite. You know, I read like the unabridged version, so that's my favorite book like of all time, but maybe not as a little kid.
Well, if you go onto the Instagram where Lainey had the idea for all of us to show our writing desks, Lainey has her Anne of Green Gables books there, which is very sweet.
In my apartment in New York, so that's in Mississippi, but in my apartment in New York, I have 4 copies of the first book, which
is so cool.
That's a lot of copies.
Now let's go, Lainey. I just want to say, I don't know why, it could be your bandwidth. You're a little delayed. We can hear you fine though, so I just wanted to let you know that in case you want to log off or log back on. I don't even know if that'll make a difference, but we can hear you perfectly, which is,
Yeah, well, I'm sharing bandwidth with everybody in school in my household right now. So it's a possibility, but if you can hear me,
we can hear you fine. Yeah. I'd like to share my I Love Lucy mask.
It's a beautiful thing. Wait, did someone make that for you, or did you find that?
No, my friend Ellen got it for me because she knows what a fan I am. Thank you, Ellen. Good friend. Yeah, she is. All right. Now, let's get started on showing our cavalcade of love of books. Now, what do we want to start with? Do you want to start with the Kevin Wilson Ann Patchett interview?
Let's do it.
So Ann Patchett and Kevin Wilson spoke at the Public Library Association conference in Nashville in February, which does
hold on.
seem like a very long time ago. So PLA does this virtual component of the conference for those who can't attend. And so they interviewed each other. And so this is going to be, well, Lainey, you talk about it. Talk about the podcast tomorrow.
Yes.
It'll be up, right?
It is. So this is our episode for tomorrow. We are repurposing this conversation from PLA because it's so cool and it's such a big deal that both of them got together and did this. And then Virginia gave it a new intro. We're going to have a fun little wrap up of what they did at the conference. So you'll hear the whole thing tomorrow on the podcast. We have kind of exclusive, well, not exclusive, but it's not out there for everybody. So we're excited to share it. And SoundCloud, Library Love Fest, or anywhere you get podcasts. We're going to have a little podcast Love Fest in a minute, but just be sure to find this tomorrow on our feed. So if you subscribe, you'll see it.
And so, yeah, and just to say that this is courtesy of PLA that they're letting us use this because this really was exclusive content for them. Ann Patchett and Kevin Wilson are great friends. They've never done something like this. This is the first time the two of them sat down together. And it was just this very, very cool conversation because it wasn't like, let me tell you about my book. It was more about how they met and what their friendship is and their background and sort of it just evolved. It was like sitting on a couch and just listening to two friends talk. So it's a very cool conversation. So we thought we'd just play a little snippet of that and then we'll talk about some books.
Welcome back, everyone. PLA is so happy to have with us today the acclaimed authors, Kevin Wilson and Ann Patchett in conversation.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin.
Prize, the Penn Faulkner Prize, and the Book Sense Book of the Year. Her work has been translated into more than 30 languages. She lives in Nashville, Tennessee, where she is the co-owner of Parnassus Books. Both Kevin and Ann are appearing courtesy of HarperCollins. Thank you both so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how are you, Ann?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay.
So Kevin and I are best friends. I don't think we should try to pretend that, this is some ethical piece of journalism in which I am interviewing you and asking you hard-hitting questions. When did we meet? What year? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was 2001, the spring, I think, of 2001, because you had won the Penn Faulkner for Bel Canto.
It must have been, then it was 2002, because Bel Canto came out.
Oh, yeah, it was 2002. Yeah.
All right.
It was, because then I went to grad school in the fall.
That's right, and it was Easter. It was Easter weekend,
That's
and
right.
that's why you were the only person in the audience.
No, that's not true.
It was really close. There were 5 people. There were 5 people reading, and I think there were 5 people in the audience.
Well, I was happy to be there.
Yeah, and then.
So they gave a really cool, that's just a very small snippet of what you'll hear tomorrow, but they have a great relationship. So
Yeah, they talk about Kevin walking her dog. Kevin was just like in a space, and so they became friends. And he stayed there, and he would walk her dog, and she would give him books to read, and then she would come home, and they would talk about this. Just very, very cool.
Mhm.
The trajectory of his writing career started sort of just through this really wonderful friendship. So it's a really, really, really lovely, authentic interview. And Kevin's book is going into paperback, which is another reason why we're putting this out now. But anyway, it's just special. It's very special. So we wanted you guys to get a sneak peek, but it's so cool. All right. La, 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 la.
Kevin's the perfect balm for our times, I think. He's just so
Yeah.
kind and bright-eyed and just, yeah. So I'm glad we got to see him this year. And
Oh my God. Oh, I know.
But,
And that book, Nothing to See Here, is like nothing you've ever read before. And I am not kidding. So if anybody hasn't read that book, boy, oh boy, please do me a favor, do us a favor, do yourself a favor, and pick it up. It's The Conceit is Strange. I won't say it's not strange. It's about these kids that smolder and flame
Virginia,
up.
you froze on us.
I
Can
did?
You're good for me.
Let's see. Uh-oh, am I alone?
You're frozen, Buster.
I'm watching Facebook. Everyone watching, sorry, it looks like maybe we had a break in the action. Virginia, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Chris
can
is
hear you.
just applying for mime school, so
Oh,
every
was
once
I
in a
frozen?
while.
Yeah, you were frozen.
Oh,
All right.
we're
All right.
good.
Are we all back? Actually, Lainey,
back.
you're back in sync now too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Kevin Wilson, nothing to see here. The conceit is strange. The kids at the center of this story need to be cared for. They have a nanny, a friend of their mother's from long ago, and these kids have a little something going on, and which is that, and not ruining for anybody by saying that when they get upset, they start to smolder and they go on fire. And I know that seems very strange, but if you read the book, you come to realize it really isn't about that. Obviously, they're not harmed, the fire goes away and they're fine. It's really about what's family. It's really about sometimes kids go on fire, sometimes frogs fall from the sky. It doesn't matter. What matters is the relationship, the bond that they form with the woman who cares for them. It is so good, and it's not a surprise that it has won the acclaim of many and fabulous reviews. So anyway, that's Kevin Wilson's Nothing to See Here, just about out in paperback.
That's my 2019 book I would recommend to any single person walking down the street.
Oh my God, that says everything. Okay.
Yep.
What else? What do we want to talk about?
Well, I don't know if we want to go into the podcast, but I do have a download ready for our teaser whenever we're ready.
Okay.
So whenever we want to talk about the podcast, maybe I just want to bring it up in conversation because I love it so much. I don't know, but anyway, whenever.
Why don't we talk about Ramon Alam?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah. Well, so coming October, I think many of you watching this are familiar with Ramon Alam, who wrote Rich and Pretty, his debut novel, That Kind of Mother, and then his third novel, which is coming in October, Leave the World Behind, which all three of us are gaga over. Again, we talk about, what is this?
Oh my God, we did that at the same time. That's so funny. Somebody make a screen grab of the three of us doing that. Okay.
Oh, wow. I think you need a hand.
The intersection, though, it falls firmly in the intersection of our Venn diagram of reading.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a departure for him in that it's a thriller. There's some horror elements, some speculative fiction, but mainly it takes place on this Airbnb on this kind of remote Long Island town, like off the water. It's just like in the middle of this forest, and this New York couple, man and wife, and their two kids are renting this Airbnb. And then one night, this couple knocks on the door and says, "We're the owners, and New York has experienced a blackout, and we didn't know what to do, so we came home." And so there's, Ramon Alam is this amazing cultural critic. He always parses out these details that you just wouldn't think to even notice. And so the couple and their family that's renting out this Airbnb, they're white, the owners are black. There's obviously a conflict there that starts right off the bat, but then it develops in ways you just do not expect. So yeah, I had the opportunity to talk to him, as did Virginia and Lainey. We all grouped together and did a podcast recording with Ramon. It was two podcasts himself, right, Lainey? He's a busy person.
Yeah.
But it was a great conversation, and I will share the link in the comments. But yeah, the librarian love for this book too has just been, and I love the jacket. It's gorgeous, and I think it really speaks towards the kind of foreboding there's something unexplainable happening in this book that these families just aren't aware of. Like there's a great passage where the husband who's running the Airbnb ventures out without his cell phone, and we talk about that a little bit of that in the interview, and just how paralyzed we are without direct connection, whether it's TV, phones, things like that. Because basically what happens is they don't have any connection. They have electricity, but that's it, and they're completely isolated in this house, and it's just great. It's like it will induce shivers, trembles, whatever, but it's so good. And I think it's the readership. It's just, I think it'll blow him out in a really special way. And also today is the last day to vote for it for library read. So any of you who've read it and loved it, or started it and loved it, make sure you get your votes in, because yeah, it's a special one.
And if anybody saw the United for Libraries tea, and I don't know if we can get that link up. Can one of you guys try and find that link? He was one of the speakers at the tea. You know how United for Libraries has their gala tea at the end of ALA? So they had it one evening. If we can't find it, we'll get it and post it here later. But he was one of the speakers. I have to tell you, this was a fabulous program. All of the speakers were top-notch, wonderful. Several debuts. It was great. It was just, I just absolutely loved it. Not just because our author was on this. Our author could have been on there and been terrible. He wasn't terrible. He was fabulous. But they were all terrific. So we'll try and find this for you. If you didn't get to see it, we'll get the link from United for Libraries and post it. But maybe Chris can find it. Lainey, as long as, and I thought one of the things that was cool about that book, and then completely coincidental, because obviously he wrote this forever ago, was that it was coming out now, which is when the world is upside down. And we talked about those comparisons and how strange it was, and how you can kind of see how the world and life can just become something that you don't know or recognize, eerily familiar. So I think in that vein, we didn't want to front load this with podcast stuff, but let's. Lainey, just play a little clip of the teaser, okay? Not the whole thing, right? Can you do that?
Yeah, what just of Ramon Alam?
Whatever. Yeah, start with that and let's see what else comes up.
I can click it. I'm not sure if I'll be right on Ramon Alam, but we'll show you guys. Okay.
What do you got, Chris? What?
Oh no, yeah, I think it was like 65% through. Does that help at all? Probably not.
Does what?
60.
Okay.
That section. But I did post the link to his tea. So
we will just see now, won't we? So we created this teaser for what we've been doing, and the full thing will be more available soon, but I'm gonna attempt to find the Ramon Alam clip in here. See Pearl, author of the
of disjoint.
Nice.
Chris interviewed Ramon Alam, author of Leave the World Behind.
you wrote this novel, of course, pre-pandemic, pre-George Floyd, pre-Black Lives Matter protests this year. So now what's it like seeing the novel in the world in the times we're living?
It is weird. It is definitely weird. There is some eerie resonance between the purely hypothetical space of this novel and the reality that we all inhabit now. But I also think it's just coincidence, and I also think that it's the task of the artist to distill something that's in the air and to sort of say, this is how we've been feeling. And we have been feeling a sense of disjointed, discomfort, strange, surreal feeling about our reality for quite some time.
It's a fabulous interview. So go to our podcast and listen to the whole thing, because it'll blow you away, seriously, just to listen to these guys, Chris and Ramon, talk about the book is really great. And the teaser is wonderful. And we'll go back. Do you want to go back to it after we talk a little bit more? Because Lainey put together this teaser of all the highlights of stuff that you'll find on our podcast, which is off the hook. There's so much stuff. So keep that up there, Lainey, because we're going to come back to it. All righty. All right. What else? Should we talk about what we're reading now? Okay. Lainey and I, so we are looking, of course, at books that are coming out in 2021. And that might be a little bit too futuristic for you. Some of you might be like, tell me all about it. So there's one book that Lainey and I have fallen in love with. I mean, we can't all read everything. So we sort of, we naturally we go towards what we think we're going to love. And Lainey, you want to talk about it first?
Oh, how do you talk about this book? So
I don't know.
the book is The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot by Marianne Cronin. And this, let me see, May 2021. So you got a little bit. It's this amazing, beautiful story of a girl this is literally the first time talking about it. So it's going to be kind of hard to put all my feelings into one. But this girl who is terminally ill, she has cancer, and she's living in the hospital, and she kind of doesn't fit in with everybody else there. She's kind of taken to roaming around the hospital because she's there permanently. And so she finds this art class with a woman who, it's all for the like older people. I think they're 80 and on, Virginia. And so
Yeah.
the art class, she kind of befriends this woman named Margot, who is 83, and Lenny is 17. And so they decide that this friendship is kind of a beautiful thing, and that they've lived 100 years between the two of them. So they're going to put on an art project and show their years within this setting in the hospital. But you also have all these fun characters that come in, and just, I'm not going to lie to you. It's darker. Obviously you're dealing with terminal patients, but it's so funny, and it's got this dark humor in it that from the beginning what the mood's going to be throughout the book, but you are just so uplifted by these people. And I think one of my favorite characters is Father Arthur, who works in the hospital. He's the chaplain, and Lenny has taken it up for herself that she's going to like help him get more people to the chapel, and he doesn't really want her help. And it's just so sweet. But it goes in between two time periods, because you have Margot's life, well, I guess three, because you have Lenny when she's growing up, and she's had an interesting upbringing, and then you have Margot going back and forth between when she's really, really young, kind of growing up, getting married, and etc. So I can't tell you, like, it was just what I needed to read. And I feel like I have those movies where it's like, I'm in a morose mood, but this is what I need right now. And this was the book that I would definitely go back to if I need just something that I'm like, I just want to sit in some feelings and feel uplifted. And it's so beautiful. Virginia, I know you like it too. So
I do. It's, it sounds like one of those books. I don't want people to think that, oh, no, I don't want to have my feelings manipulate away, because it's so well told. The format is very winning, but it's the content, and it's these characters. And Lenny is this smart ass. It's set in Glasgow, so Lenny, I don't know if we talked about this, but I tried to read it with like a nutty little, like however they would talk to each other, there's they're unique characters, and they have formed these two people have formed this incredible connection. Unfortunately, their common denominator is that they're both sick, but it does not dwell on that, which is what I love. It's not that, I was 85% through the book, and I'm like, I am loving this, because I'm loving their history, especially the 83-year-old Margot. What's her life been like, and they share little snippets of their lives with each other. And then you go back in time, and I'm not typically a fan of that back and forth business. I'm like, where are we? I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved, it was very clear to me what was going on, and you go along both of their journeys. It's absolutely beautiful. The publisher had sent this around to some of us ahead of time, and I'm so glad she did, because it's really such a unique and beautiful and funny story. Again, this is not something where you're not along for the scientific medical horror. It's not that. That's going to happen, but that's not what this is. Love it.
I mentioned to Virginia that it reminded, like, not the book itself, but the reading experience reminded me of It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. So if you've read that and you love that, that might be a good idea. Kind of like the dark humor with the more like life's big questions kind of thing. Yeah.
Which I then bought at Lainey's suggestion.
So good.
So that's one that we're super excited about. But that's, again, we've got time on that. You're going to hear us talk about that book a lot. As long as we're talking about books that are coming out, we should probably tell you now that we're going to have our book buzz, our next world famous book buzz, on October 8th. We did one in June. Was it June or July? It was July, right?
July 9th, yes.
July 9th. So we're doing it again, back by popular demand. Thank you. Because that was a great, we just did this thing. I admit we went a little long. We're going to do 90 minutes. We're going to talk about our highlights from the winter spring list. And that's going to happen in October. We'll probably go more into spring. So, Chris, is there a link? Are we providing a link for people?
I just shared the registration link for Crowdcast.
Beauty.
Wendy, I just asked what time it will be. It's 10:30 to 12 Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Oh, we had a question about ARCs for Lenny and Margot. It doesn't have a cover yet, so you got a little while. Sorry, just be patient with us.
Okay, what about the download? It's not right. Okay.
No.
As soon as we have it, we will send it your way. Promise. Don't worry. Nobody's reading it before you are. Okay, as long as we're talking future, let's talk Willie Blotton.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so coming April, The Night Always Comes by Willie Blotton. I think many of you, I love that jacket and that photo. I think it speaks to the propulsiveness of this book, which is a surprising thing about it, in that it takes place over the course of 2 days and 2 nights, and one young woman's kind of desperate attempt to get together the money necessary to put a down payment on her house in a rapidly changing Portland. And I'm rereading this actually right now.
Are you?
I am. I just kind of wanted to get into Willie Blotton's space again. And again, Lainey, this was your first book that you read by him, right?
Yeah, I'm on the bandwagon now.
Yeah, Virginia introduced him to me really. The first book I read from him was Don't Skip Out on Me, his previous book, which came out a couple years back, that so many of you got behind. The support was fantastic. So those of you who've read him know kind of the passion that he instills when he's someone you want to share, because he's such a big-hearted writer. He's not like sentimental or cheesy about it, but he just really captures working class life in a way that I think is important, and honest and beautiful in some ways. So, and actually, should I proceed with a certain message?
Oh yeah.
So this will be the first time we're sharing this, you all here, first time. But Willie actually recorded a video message for librarians. So I'm going to go ahead and share that again. This is the first time we've shown this video, so pretty cool. Let's see here. Okay, here he is.
I'm Willie Blotton, and my new novel's called The Night Always Comes. The book takes place in Portland, Oregon, over the course of 2 days and nights, and centers around Lynette, a woman desperately trying to scrape together the money to buy the rental home she lives in with her mother and developmentally disabled brother. If you know my books, then you know my interest in working class themes, and in this one I wanted to explore the American dream of home ownership, and for Lynette and her family, is it even attainable or is it just a dream? I worked like a madman on this one, and luckily I still have my ace editor, Myrna Loy, And I swear the ending of The Night Always Comes isn't going to devastate you the way Don't Skip Out on Me did. And I also want you to know I sure miss coming to libraries. And I hope all my favorite librarians are safe and sound. And I hope to see you guys sooner than later when the world calms down. Thank you.
Jeez.
So charming.
He is.
Love.
How can you not like that guy?
What'd you say?
How can you not love that guy?
I
He's
know. I
Yeah.
know.
charming.
Well, Chris, that interview you did with him, which was before my time, but we put it on the podcast, I believe. So
Oh, right.
I hadn't met him in person, but I saw that interview, and it was, you guys
Chris,
had a vibe.
You did have a vibe. You
Mhm.
should put the link up. You should put the link up on Facebook, so people can go back and watch that interview, because it was a wonderful interview with Chris and Willie. And Willie came into the studio and he brought his guitar. It was really, really beautiful. I got to tell you, Robin Bierbauer, massive fan. This is another book we're going to keep talking about, because we love the way he writes his stories of, the struggles of every man. And yes, this, home ownership, it's just so good. He's just a wonderfully gifted writer and singer, songwriter, performer in a very, lovely, unassuming way. He's just terrific. So, Chris, did you find that link, or you will put it up?
Yeah, I'm searching for
It's
it
really
now, but I'll
cool.
be sure to.
It's really
share it
cool.
here.
So that's another one we just won't stop talking about it.
Oh, Vicky has a question, which
What?
you guys can answer. It said, if you haven't read any of Willie Vaughton's books, is this a good one to start with? And, if not, what one would you start with?
Great question.
I loved Motel Life.
Motel Life is great. I love Lean on Pete as well.
Oh, Lean
I
on
think that's
Pete
a
is
good
so
intro.
good.
Motel Life is great. I mean, they're all great. I've read every single one now.
Lean on Pete was made into a movie that we went to see, remember?
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, which was good. I liked it, but
Yeah.
you can't replace
Can't be
the
the
book.
book. Yeah.
No.
But it was good. It was really good. I would say you could start anywhere, but as Willie references in the video, the last book, Don't Skip Out on Me, was was sad. It was I mean, none of them are, they're just slices of life, um they are what they are, but they're beautifully written, and you just champion these characters in these books. My gut says Motel Life, but which about those brothers? Oh God, I just want to just lay down now and read them all. Anyway, you'll be fine with any of them, Vicky. Send you one. I'll send you Motel Life. Okay, we'll send you Motel Life. Anybody else want Motel Life? Just write to us. We'll mail you something. We'll mail you some Willie. Get you hooked. Do we want to talk about, you know what, before we run out of time, it is already 20 to 3. I want to mention our anti-racism reads, Facebook Live, which we had done. When was that? It feels like forever ago, but June? Anyway, a couple months ago, with the genius, wonderful Wendy Bartlett's guidance and participation in. We had this wonderful, wonderful Facebook Live, and if you didn't get to see it, it is still as relevant today, sadly, as it was then and will be. It's so important, and it was all about anti-racism reads that we were asking librarians to give us their suggestions of titles, regardless of publisher, what books they felt check the marks, check the boxes of, effectiveness. And so we had an incredible hour with Casey Boyd, Wendy Bartlett, and Tracy Sherrod from Amistad, and all of your input. We had people calling in. They'd called in during the week. We played these messages. We took chats, messages on our chat room, and ended up with, I don't know how, 70 something titles. Adult, children's, fiction, nonfiction, books that came from you. We wanted to hear from you and stop talking and listening, as one Nora Rawlinson read a really wonderful piece that said, stop talking and start listening. So we have that link there. Yes, you guys, or we will. The link to the episode. And again, Wendy, I know you're watching, and I can thank you enough for all that you brought to the table, along with Casey Boyd and Tracy. Really terrific. So I think it's worth bringing back and reminding people that that's there, along with the listing of all the books. So sometimes, stuff piles up and you forget about it. So we want to make sure that's on your radar. What else? Russell Banks has a new book coming out. Oh my God, I'm so excited about Russell Banks. I love him. His book is called Foregone. It's coming out in March of 2021. You can download the galley right now on Edelweiss. And this is a man who he's nearing the end of his life. And he's looking for forgiveness and redemption. It's a documentary filmmaker who is Canadian American, and he's ill, and he's looking back on his life, and he's being filmed in front of all these people who have long adored him, and he's pulling back the curtain. And Russell Banks is an amazing writer, as you know. It's been some years, but since his last book, so worth the wait. It's called Foregone, and it is on sale. I'm looking this up. March 2nd. So I know we're going far out, but you know what? These are books that we just want to make sure you all know about, because we're super jazzed about these. You guys want to talk about a few other books that you're loving, or do you want to go back to, we have Plain Bad Heroines, Cold Millions. Oh, look at that jacket.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Only thing for maybe Plain Bad Heroines, which I can wrap up into a quick Instagram combo, is because I want to show you some images from our last Instagram takeover. Emily Danforth, Plain Bad Heroines. I know you guys are all fans. Today is the last day to vote for Library Read, so don't forget. And this is just a massively amazing big book that is larger than life. It is physically large. It's 600 pages, larger than life. I didn't want it to end after 600 pages. Chris and I are both like gaga over this book. It's dark and funny and meta at the same time. It has to do with a girls' school that is haunted after a book based on a real person. A real person's book is fictionalized in this book. And then that spurs on a tragedy at this school, this fictional school, which is then written into a book, which is then made into a movie of the book, and then the movie becomes a movie of the book written about the movie of the book. So it's very meta, and it's so fun, and Emily just is so smart and witty with everything she did, and like, I don't know how she packed everything into this book, but you won't want it to end after 600 pages. So if you loved it, you loved it. If you haven't read it yet, please go check it out. But I want to show you some images from her takeover. She took over our Instagram account, and you have to watch this video that she did because it's so funny. But also, she has cool things in her house. But look at these like things that this research she did, and she put all these notes in here for everybody. But like, look at these postcards.
Amazing.
Those are all of her books, and there's the story of Mary McLean, which is the actual book that is in this fictional story. Look at all these images. So she did several things for us. There's her cute puppies.
Oh.
So, and then this is in the book Spike Tower, but it's based on stuff that she has shown in these photos. Rhode Island, places around there. So please go check that out. Plain Bad Heroines, last day to vote, don't forget. But just as a quick, like, what we've been doing, I'll keep it really quick. But we've had authors on every Friday to discuss their books, show us their writing space. There's Leanne Dolan. There's Sarah Beth Durst. She's at ALA. She shared that photo and said how much she loved being there. Oh, gosh. Should I show the video of Karen Slaughter?
Go ahead.
2 seconds.
So crazy.
It's showtime.
Some songs, they for skinny hoes.
So if you want to see Karen Slaughter dressed up and singing, go to our Instagram. This was from Jill Shalvis. She gave you a quick little fun quote with her computer, her writing space. Oh, I'm not going to play it, but Nancy Pearl did this amazing tour of her writing space and gave us like reader's advisory. She's just pulling stuff off the shelves. So please go check that one out.
That was a fabulous one. That was like, if you, like everybody else talked about, like, this is where I write and this is what I look at and this is what I do. And Nancy's like, now, if you want a good book on, 18th century mysticism, here's one. It's crazy.
Yeah, and another great one, I won't play, but Meg Cabot. That one had me on the floor laughing, and I'm not even going to show you because you have to go see it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I can show it, but I don't want to take too much time. And Paul Tremblay was on. We had, there's those images again. So that's just like, look at this. It goes on and on. It's been months of authors there's Beatrice Williams, Jenny Colgan, who lives in Scotland and has this amazing view of like a tower looking over a loch. Like, you have to go see this. Again, it just goes on and on. So please, Instagram, check it out every Friday, Harper Library, and next Friday, because nothing this Friday because we're half day. So the next Friday is David Hesketh Wyden, author of Winter Counts. So we're excited for that one. That's our next one. So
now I just want to take a minute to give Lainey a shout out, because Lainey took this on. Lainey said, what if we had authors take over the Harper Library Instagram page every Friday? I was like, okay. And that is all Lainey, all of it. And it's just, you can see it's like endless, fun, informative content. So shout out to you. That is a great, very, very, very fun way to sort of, get a little taste of what they're like. They're very funny. A lot of these are really very interesting.
Or supplemental content, like I've already on an email, I was like, oh, Emily Danforth took over our Instagram. Check out these photos. It's great to have on hand. So.
Like I said, it's just a different way to meet these authors. We have plenty of interviews, like long form interviews, Facebook Lives, but it's a different, very unique and creative way to see them in their space. So yes, kudos, Lainey. Kudos. I love those.
Thank you.
One thing I want to mention quickly before I have to take my cat to the vet is that on September 8th, Nancy Pearl and Jeff Schwager, authors of The Writer's Library, will be on our Facebook Live at 2:00 to celebrate the book birthday of The Writer's Library. And honey, you should pull that up. So Nancy Pearl and Donna Seaman had a lovely conversation on Book List's podcast. Can we play some of this? Is this playable right now?
Yeah.
I don't know, 30 seconds.
Advocate, an ardent lifelong reader. Nancy is the author of the best-selling Book Lust series and a novel, George and
Banks, where he talks about growing up really without a lot of money and kind of being a badly behaved little boy and a fourth grade teacher, just understanding the kind of person that he was and saying, you don't have to sit in class. You can build this big, big, big three-dimensional map of Brazil and everything about it. I've always...
No. Well, what she's talking about there, we have so little time, but we have all this content up here for you to look at. But at that moment, what Nancy's talking about is Russell Banks, because Russell Banks is one of the authors that's profiled in this book. So it's all these authors, like Lainey, 23. Why can't I get that number in my head?
I think so. I think
okay. And they're all living, and she and Jeff have gone around and interviewed all of these authors to ask them, what are the books that informed you, that shaped you, that you loved? And Susan Orlean does the forward. And so Russell Banks is one of the authors that's profiled. And in this particular conversation that she has with Donna Seaman, she's talking about Russell Banks and how ahead of his time he was. Really, he was a smart kid. And so he tells this very funny story about how the teacher took him out of the class and just said, okay, you can't be in this class because you're so bored that you're making trouble. And he gives him this crazy assignment to do that takes him all year to do, and he has to research Brazil. He makes this big map of Brazil. Anyway, this is very interesting stories. But in addition to these profiles of these authors, and some you may have read, some you may have not have read, but what's very cool is that not only are you introduced to them and what makes them tick as a writer and reader, but you also get this great list of books at the end. I think it's at the end of, I've never even seen the book because we left and I just have the e-galley, but there's the listing of all the books that are mentioned by each profiled author, which is incredibly cool. So and I started.
I have a little clip from our podcast. You want me to play it with?
Yeah, sure.
You, Virginia, interviewed Nancy, and it was awesome. And here's just a little clip. Few authors. Virginia Stanley interviewed Nancy Pearl, author of The Writer's Library.
One of the things that was most fun was that Tom Boyle, T.C. Boyle, walked us through his house. We looked at his bookshelves together, and like I would say, oh, The Woman Who Lost Her Soul by Bob Shakocious. I loved that book. And he'd say, oh, I really loved that book too. That was a great book. I mean, isn't that what reading is? Yeah. Reading is meeting people. And in a book, you meet the people in the book, you meet those characters. But then to be able to sort of share your love with an author that you admire and whose books you've really always cherished, that was really great.
That teaser is a trip, Lainey, that you put together. You got to go back. We're so short on time, but you got to go back. Lainey took these highlights from all the different things that we do with the podcast and put them together. Author interviews with authors who made the Library Reads list. There's a ton of stuff in there. 7 minutes, I don't know. You can check it out and it will whet your appetite to go back and then listen to these individual recordings. But thank you for playing that, Lainey, because that was really cool. And if you can join us on September 8th at 2:00 for the birthday party of the Writer's Library, there may be some special guests, but we're not going to say who they are because we want to surprise Nancy. So just come on. It's going to be fun.
You're cordially invited.
You are cordially invited. Okay. So I don't know. I almost feel like we've gotten to everything. I am going to have to bid you adieu. You guys can wrap it up. Don't talk bad about me. I have to take my cat to the vet. So I wish you all, as I drink and drive, I'm only kidding. Am I? I'm only kidding. Be well. Lainey, Chris, I'll see you in the funny papers. Friends out there, let us know what you're reading. Keep the conversation going. There's nothing else to do. All we've got is time. Bye.
Bye.
And somebody did ask if the cat was okay. The cat is okay. So no worries. So it's just us now.
It's just us, and I do think we covered almost everything. I just want to remind everyone again, if you haven't gotten your votes in for Library Reads, please do. Here's a look at some of the books that we're loving for the list. October is just an out of control month regarding books. I don't think we mentioned The Cold Millions. That's another book I just adore, and I know some of those of you watching. Just such an epic, beautiful, masterful work from Jess Walter. So be sure to get your votes in for that. Amy Malloy.
I just finished listening to the audio e-galley of Goodnight Beautiful and Twisty. It's a good one.
Yeah, very smart thriller. And then, of course, playing Bad Heroines, Leave the World Behind. We have a new Gregory McGuire. Some great debuts. Our friend Spike Carlson, who many of you saw. Just so many good books. There is too many. You can't have too many, but it's intimidating. So
romance reminds me. Bookless Romance next Tuesday. I'm doing that, so come and join us. And you can register online for that. Lots of hearts on the PowerPoint slides. I won't disappoint. It'll be very fun. So that's at 1 Central, I believe, but on the 8th.
Great. Well, and again, we encourage you all to reserve your spot for our October 8th buzz. We can't wait. We'll have a good time. And again, we will keep it to an hour and a half, close to it. And I think, again, I just shared the link for Nancy Pearl's book birthday Facebook Live next Tuesday. So sign up for reminders. Always excited to have Nancy on the program. Anything else, Lainey, we need to share before we say farewell?
I don't think so. But yeah, we'll have the podcast teaser up soon for everybody to listen to. And, you know, there's so many good things on there that we've done. It was really hard picking highlights because so many were so great. But be sure to listen to that. Be sure to follow us on Instagram so you can see the author takeovers, Harper Library. And we miss you guys.
We do. And we hope you all are well and safe and sound. And wishing you the best. And I'm glad we can connect in these ways. And it's been a real joy and relief to be able to connect with you the past 3 months or so, 4 months, 5 months, however long we've been doing this. So thank you again for being here with us. And again, we'll hopefully see you on Nancy's program next Tuesday. So thank you again. Be well. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.